Hi, this clip is about getting your bass drum set up right out of the box. You can also use it to help align a new drum head if you've installed new drum heads, getting the logo lined up to where it's perpendicular, or excuse me, get it lined up to where it's parallel to the ground. So in this particular case, what I've done is I've put the drum on a carrier, put it on, and then had somebody help me, or you can use a mirror as well, find the top dead center of the drum. And when you find the top dead center of the drum, you put a little piece of tape there and mark it. And this is where you will want to line up your head. Also, what I've done, because we're going to get this thing in tune, I've set the drum up, since it's so loose, I've sent it up to do crisscross tensioning. Since it's a brand new head and we want to make sure that we don't get out of sequence and we don't tighten one side or one lug more than the other, it's a good idea to use the cross pattern when you're tuning your drum for the first time and to get it set up. So I've labeled, put a little bit of tape on each of one of these claws and numbered them so I don't lose track of what I'm doing. So let's say we have a brand new drum that we've just taken out of the box, or we've installed a brand new head. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we get the logo lined up with the top dead center, which I've already marked, of the drum with a piece of tape. So using this logo and using the tape, we can line this up. Now this is a free floating shell. So what I'm doing is I'm lifting up on it a little bit. It's very, very loose, to where if I lift up on this and move it with my fingers, I can move the head without moving the shell, because if you're not careful, you'll move the shell, and that'll kind of defeat the purpose, all the work you've done. So I take the weight off of the head and I just begin scooting it around with my fingers until it's lined up. And now we're ready to start tensioning the drum. Now that we have our logo centered, and the drum really looks great, we begin the process of tensioning it and evenly tensioning it. As I mentioned earlier, when starting with a brand new head, it's not a bad idea to set up a crisscross pattern on the drum. And in this case, I didn't want to mark the heads up. Took a little piece of masking tape and did a pattern. This is a 9-lug drum, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That'll keep things evenly balanced, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to create any sort of extra tension on one particular lug. We don't want to damage the head. Okay? So we'll start with number 1. Good place to start. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it about 1/4 of a turn. This is a process that takes time, and it's worth taking the time to do it. So about 1/4 of a turn on each lug. And as we're doing this, we want to be looking and making sure that there are no wrinkles in the head. So 3, 4, and it doesn't get much more exciting than this. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's give it a little check and see where we're at. See if we actually get a drum sound. I'm going to pick the drum off the table just a little bit. It's starting to become a drum. It's getting close. I don't see any wrinkles. So I'm going to go around the drum one more time, 1/4 of a turn. Okay, now we're getting closer. Let's give it another listen. And at this point, what I'd like to do is I'd like to start using a drum dial and double check the tension at each one of the lugs, since we're starting to get a drum sound out of it. This is a great tool for measuring the tension from lug to lug on a drum, bass drums and tenor drums especially. This drum dial measures, again, the tension on a surface, in this case, a mylar head. So it's numbered, and there is no magic number to setting your drum. It's basically about checking the differences between one point and another. So I'm going to start with this lug just to see where we're at. And these handy little reference points here tell me that this drum is set at about 78. Okay? Whatever tension level 78 is, well, that's what it is. So what I'll do is I'm going to go across the drum all the way to the other side and see how the tension looks over there. Looks like we have a bit of a drop in tension, which means that since this drum is not completely up to the tone or the pitch that I want it, I'm going to raise this up. So, as you'll notice, slowly crank, and we get it up to about a 78. All right? So, the idea is you repeat the process. You can use the same technique going from one point to another, like the crossing pattern. So we'll go to 1 just to double check to see where we're at. And that's about a 78. We'll go across to lug number 2. That's a little bit higher. That's an 80. So since this is our highest lug so far, I'm just going to slide it around the drum here just to see where we go. Now you notice this little jump right here. All of a sudden it jumped up to 90. What happened here is we have a foam dampener on the inside of the drum, just off of the bearing edge. And being that it's underneath that, it caused the needle to jump up. So that's why we tune it at the tension points. So it looks like it's fairly even. This is where we started. There's a couple of things here and there, but I don't see anything that's reading over an 80. So using this tool, what I'm going to do is I will go around the drum lug by lug until I get a balance. Okay? And the idea is twist, tune, check, repeat until you get close to the pitch that you want. If you don't have a drum dial and you're looking to get your drum in tune and tension properly from lug to lug, you can use a mallet. You can use a regular tenor mallet. I like using a timpani stick. It's a little bit firmer than a tenor mallet and allows me to reach around the drum without having to extend myself. Anyway, I will tap around the drum going to different lugs and listen for differences. And I lightly put my hand on the drum so we don't have all kinds of background noise and overtones. So I hear a difference there. Okay, so that tells me that I can hear differences. Now the drum is not up to pitch yet, but I can hear variations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find the highest pitched lug, tension point, and try to get all of the other lugs at the same pitch. This seems to be the highest pitch. So now that I've established where I'm at, I'll go across to the one that seemed to be the lowest and bring it up. This one needs to come up some, and it's just a matter of repeating the process and going around, double checking and tapping, using your ear. This one seems to be a bit high. Now this is great if you don't have a whole lot of background noise and for example, pipers tuning up and that sort of thing. That's where the drum dial comes in handy, because you can just set it down no matter what's going on. Pipers are tuning up, snare drummers are banging away, practicing. This will allow you to really dial in, so to speak, and get the tension. But the mallet works well, works very well if you have a sort of a quiet environment and you're able to really be able to hear what you're doing.